And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This Vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because trying out new things is always fun, because you never know if you're going to break something. That's why Linux was invented. Linux. When Unix is just too proprietary, and you want to make sure that every piece of the operating system is as schizoid as possible. I remain host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble. You can find me pretty much everywhere under that name. That's Shujin. Hi. Yeah, it's... Trust me, I cannot explain it any better than that because the problems that I had the last couple of days driven me up a wall. And I'll explain in a couple of seconds. Being able to join me on the site from the right-hand coast of the U.S., UnrenownedTech, you made it. Hi, good morning. Good morning.
It's morning.
It's morning.
It's morning.
And on the left-hand coast, Io, it's evening. Good evening.
Hi.
It's good to be back. Yeah, so just let me cover a couple of pieces of information. People are going to be wondering, okay, what in the hell is that you're drinking? It is Loganberry. It is Loganberry. For those of you that don't know anything about Loganberry, there it is. That is Loganberry. It's backwards on your screen because that's just the way that Discord is, because Discord is stupid. And I haven't been able to figure out how to flip. I keep looking every couple of weeks. I keep looking to try to find out, how do I flip the video so that it, shows up correctly for everybody? It's one of those things, sorry. But, the reason why I'm drinking Loganberry instead of anything alcohol-based is because tomorrow morning, in about 9 hours from now, I'm supposed to be in the shop working. Reminding you, we have a 2-hour show to do, and then, an hour and a half after that is when I'll be, asleep, hopefully. That means that I'm going to get almost no sleep. So... that's, yeah.
Go you.
Go me is right. And all because one of the guys...
You're going to be on caffeine and prayers tomorrow.
Yeah.
Would you like my recipe for damn?
No. As a matter of fact, I have a thing of cold coffee in the little refrigerator. I stopped at Wegmans today on the way home so that I could get a Danny's favorite, which is basically just an Italian sub, but a full-size one. So I've got a sandwich to take to the shop and then another half of that sandwich to eat for dinner, because I do not expect to be wanting to do any food making when I get home.
I have a recipe. It's called damn, and you actually have to buy a separate coffee pot to make it, because when you follow the directions appropriately, what you end up producing is a very thick, almost liquid that a couple mouthfuls will keep you awake probably for until your heart explodes. Hence the name. It was popular at several conventions.
Somebody tried to hand me one of those.
It has warning labels.
Yeah.
You don't say.
Yeah, the warning label basically says, if somebody comes up to you and says, here, have a piece of coffee, it's just thick enough. There's a story about this. I'll tell you about it.
Yeah.
So there is something else that's actually stronger than damn, but I'm not going to say it on the show here because I really don't want to give our listeners heart attacks.
Yeah, I'll give you the real quick and dirty. One of the guys that I knew from a job that we like to affectionately call Hell, which was an inbound call center, not an outgoing sales, inbound. Very important. He, who will remain nameless at this point, all right? I'm not going to name names. If he ever watches this, he will know and will be laughing uproariously right about now. He got in trouble in the early days of the company because, you know, those commercial coffee machines that you get all the time, and they sit on a countertop, and it's got the grill up on the top and the hopper that you fill with the, you know, you just pop open the bag, you dump it in there with the, hopefully you remembered to put the thing. Well, he made a pot with, I forget if it was 2 or 3 bags of coffee in the hopper. And it was unknown to the president of the company at the time, because he came through and he got himself a cup of coffee. A cup of this specialty coffee. And very quickly thereafter, there was a company-wide memo. Granted, it was a rather small company at the time, but a company-wide memo that says that you will never do this again without proper warning labels. So forever afterwards, if you went into the break room and you saw a tied on those industrial paper towels, those brown paper towels that are like whisper thin, and there's one tied to the handle, you know who made the coffee. And I almost said his name 3 times now, and I'm being very careful because I do not want to get him in trouble. Because he still likes me for some reason. So, you know who you are, and there's only one of you out there. So, hi. Anyway, as always, if you'd like to be joining us as we're going through all these wonderful machinations, and you want to join over on the live chat over there, feel free to do so. Stephanie, good morning. Glad you're able to make it. And yeah, I put on a timer at the beginning because I never do that, and I really should. And I need a different one for the outro because I had been told, and I never really thought about it, that I'm kind of cutting myself off way early at the end of the show. Oops. That's my fault. That's entirely my fault because I wasn't paying attention to it. And
There was an oopsie poopsie.
it was.
All's forgiven.
It was. Well, see, part of the problem is that back for the longest time when we were doing it on Google Hangouts.
Oh God.
For all of the shit that we had to go through with Hangouts, it was good enough for us to do what we do. It worked out well because it was just a real easy streaming to YouTube, no big thing. And we started it, it went. We stopped it, it stopped. And there was none of this buffering thing to worry about. So it is what it is. So hopefully I will now have that corrected for the ends of the shows. So thank you for letting me know about that, Io. Appreciate that. I feel like a dumbass, but you know what? Thank you for catching it when I didn't. I appreciate it.
You're supposed to say you're welcome. This is the part where you talk, Io.
It was just something I noticed, and I've seen other live broadcasts where they've had an intro and an outro just so that the person's talking doesn't get cut off.
Hey,
Just say you're welcome.
De rien?
sure, yeah,
Close enough.
I'll take that. So yeah, that's what had been happening all this time, and I didn't know because I didn't realize. All I can say is, we're not a professional unit, such is what it is. So, anyway, we will do better.
Yeah, you brought me into the show. We're definitely not professional.
I mean, the worst that can happen is extradition treaties with Canada. We have an extradition. Whatever, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah, there is a mutual extradition treaty.
Yeah.
From what I understand, but it's rarely used. And there's also you can't go into Canada if you've done bad.
I'm sure I have absolutely no idea what you're alluding to.
Oh, not what you think. But yes, that too.
Yeah, that too. So we'll see how that plays out. So let's go ahead get things rolling because, well, we got to get things rolling because I got good news. And we'll be able to cover that in the next segment. But for right now, let me go ahead and get the 5-minute freestyle, which starts now. Birthday. Birthday. Okay, there's a lot of different things about birthday right about now. Not the least of which is, well, there's a couple of birthdays that I get to celebrate this month. My wife's, admittedly, she can't exactly participate anymore unless we add her to a send hourglass. That's a bad joke. It's one of the few I've got. And the other was my son's. Yeah, my son's birthday just happened just recently. And I'm proud of him. There's things that, I really wish he didn't have to go through in the years that he's been on this planet at this point. But, what are you going to do? There's only so much you can do. But it's kind of a weird thing to think about now because I don't really celebrate my own. I notice it. I know that it's coming. And, I'm not going to go with the whole, well, I know that I've only got about another 20 years left, statistically speaking. I mean, all right, 25, whatever. So for me, I don't think of it in those terms. But it's fun to look at what's happened since the last time that we put down a mile marker. It's done a lot. He's gotten another year of college learning under his belt. He's done his own set at the college radio station, which I do have recorded. Thank you. He's got himself involved with stuff on campus to help people have some fun, get together, social. And he's going to be somebody that I'm going to be proud of. And I don't say that as if, oh, I'm not proud of him already. Of course I am. He's somebody who is learning. And as much as I want to say, he's 20, however many years it is, don't worry about it. He's somebody I'm already proud of. And I have been for a very, very long time. We went through hardships that very few families ever have to. I'm glad to know that. I'm not happy that we went through it, but knowing that it's a very, very, very small number of people by comparison that have to go through this, I mean, I'm glad for that. Yeah, there are plenty of single father houses or single mother houses just because of the way that things have played out. Socially, you don't necessarily need to have a spouse to have a child. I mean, long term. For us, mom's gone. She died. I mean, there's no other easy way to put it. And that's something that doesn't happen very often for the reason that it was for us, which was cancer. Which, might I also remind you, I truly believe that the term fuck cancer should never be excluded from polite company. But we do still have mortalities that end up happening here in the United States, what should be, by most accounts, a first world country. But the rate of death because of childbirth is just, it's too high. It just is. And I would very much like for there to be more parents to be able to celebrate with their children. Hopefully, a responsible number of children. We wanted to have 2. We have 1. That's okay. So for those of you that are wondering, should I celebrate the birthday of someone that's gone? Yeah. Yeah. Not just are you allowed to, but you should. If nothing else, acknowledge it. You don't need to send a card. You don't need to have a cake. Just lift a drink. Be grateful that you spent some time in this reality with someone that meant so much to you. To all of you that have got a birthday, thank you for being part of our time. I love the taste of Loganberry. I had never known about it until I came up here, and my wife introduced me to it, and was very much of the, what do you mean you've never heard of this before? So we went to a relatively locally chained restaurant, fast food joint called Mighty Taco. Just think of Taco Bell, only like with class and good food. And one of the drink offerings is Loganberry, and had me try it, and I love this stuff. I don't get it very often, because to me it's kind of a treat. And one of the things that it says on the label is that it is perfectly acceptable to take this syrup to make a drink with, of course, a 5-to-1 ratio. Or one of the other things is to drizzle it on your ice cream. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that idea, but you know what? People are weird. They like strawberry ice cream. So you know what? Perfectly fine. You want to have the taste of grapes and berries, kind of on your ice cream. You know what? You do you. It's perfectly fine. You want to put pizza on your pineapple? That's perfectly fine too. I mean, it doesn't really much matter to me. I don't care. I'm pressing the wrong buttons, and I'm finally getting to the right button. How about we go ahead, get on over to the horrible scopes, because now's about a good time as any to go ahead and get to the horrible scopes. So, let's do that. For those of you that know your astrological sign, cool. Those of you that don't, you can just pick one, roll a d12, make it up as you go along. Doesn't much matter. Or better yet, check out the guys over there at Heart of the Game Fredonia, because they can sell you one of those d12s with the astrological symbols on them. I got the chance to talk to the guy over there and let him know, and he looked it up. He can get them to sell them. So yeah, if you're in the U.S., got a U.S. shipping address, you can get in touch with them over there on Facebook, and they can see about selling it to you. We're guesstimating a $25 charge for that, so just keep in mind for that. And whatever it is, if you're planning on getting it, send them a couple extra bucks, just because they're a small company in a small town and they're still doing good for themselves. Tell them Shujin Tribble sent you because of the horrible scopes. Hail, hail, Fredonia. It's the home of the Blue Devil. So after some, as I was mentioning, unexpected computer glitching and last-minute editing, finally getting these scopes out on time for y'all, as opposed to last week's Fridays. Don't ask. So kick back, relax, as we explain how the end of the summer is going to go for all of you. Aries, how about one last fishing boat trip before the season's over? You paid for your fishing license, you might as well get your money's worth out of it. That, and the gift card you were given to 7-Eleven, so you can get a vat o' coffee on the way to wake up with. So this week, make sure the fishing boat company you normally use is still in business, and make a reservation. The last thing you want to do is be stuck fishing on the pier while watching the boat head out without you. It's a really uncomfortable moment. I know. Mr. the Tech?
Sorry, I came in at the end of that. I had to step out of the room for a biological reason. What was the question?
I can do it. He can catch up.
Okay.
Yeah, I apologize. I should have left my headset on. It's turd.
Okay. Okay, bullheaded Taurus. You missed out on field day this year, but that doesn't mean you need to miss out again. For those of you wondering what that is, it's a ham radio thing. I'm doing air quotes. A big everyone contact everyone else contest. It's all kinds of fun using every type of radio communication system possible, from Morse code to fast scan television. So this week, if you really, really screw up some people's minds, if you want to really, really screw up some people's minds, make sure there's a full moon on the next field day so you can bounce your signal off of it. Yes, that's actually a thing.
I'm caught up.
Yep.
Gemini, how's about a rain or shine after sundown? End of summer tradition for you? Just remember that you might need a little extra battery power for it. No, you pervs. Stop it. We're having you go out to a drive-in movie for a double feature. Science fiction. Sorry. Usually it'll be a movie paired with a B movie. So the Horror of Beach Party paired with The Curse of the Living Corpse. So this week, make sure you get your car battery checked before the movie. It'll be a good test to see if it's ready for the harsh winter conditions to come. See? Preventative maintenance for the win.
Yep.
Dude, I would love to go see Rocky Horror at a drive-in.
How?
Science fiction.
But see, the problem then is how you're supposed to be able to, like,
Dance and everything else, right? No, I get it.
I mean,
Dr. X.
It's just the theater near me that used to play it that used to play it during Halloween. They've stopped.
it's because it's a pain in the ass to try and clean up all the rice that gets thrown.
Well, they had a
The rice,
limitation.
the popcorn,
There was only two things you could do. You could throw the toilet paper and the squirt guns for the rain, and that was it. There was no rice was allowed, no toast, no flames, no lighters, no nothing.
The crew that I used to do it with the most, and I did it for like 6 months, the spiel that they gave, if you want to throw toilet paper, you throw it that way. And they were pointing to the back of the audience. You throw it to the screen and we'll lose the theater. Throw it backwards, or crossways, but don't throw it at the screen.
You know what? That's a really good point.
Toilet paper, toast, rice, squirt guns, everything just, it was a mess. The poor theater every Friday and Saturday night.
There's only one good way to clean up after that. You get yourself a couple of gas-powered leaf blowers and start from the back of the theater and work your way forward. Cancer Moon Child, you hated reading Shakespeare's plays for a reason back in high school. Now you don't need to do that because you're forced to. You can just do it for fun. Yeah, we don't think it's real fun either, but you can tackle it on your terms, not Mr. Bolillo's. So this week, there's plenty of variation on the Romeo and Juliet story you can choose from. We suggest either West Side Story or The Bride of Frankenstein. In any case, just read it in the original Klingon and just be done with it.
Are we gonna? Do you want Io to go next, or do you want me to go next?
Well, she started. She knows where she's supposed to be.
Okay.
Doing her thing. Right about here. Now, with the mute button turned off.
Are you done?
I'm just waiting for you to put that middle finger down.
I don't have the middle finger up. It's the baby finger. Leo, hungry? Got an old Yellow Pages phone book? Good! Tear out a bunch of pages from the restaurant section and throw darts at them until you find a place to eat at you've never been to before. Bonus points if the place is a smaller, family-owned joint that doesn't get enough attention. So this week, If you really want to know great eateries, get a CB radio and listen to the truckers talking about a greasy spoon or choke and puke. If anyone knows where to eat, they do. Now, I got a story about that. Old Alaska Highway between Fort St. John and Whitehorse, there's a bunch of choke and pukes going up and down there. Their pancakes aren't these small ones. They are the size of a pan, and there's usually 2 of them. Literally. Frying pan sized. I could only eat about a quarter of it, and they wouldn't let me take it with me on the road. It was that thick, that good. And, oh, the maple syrup.
The other thing is also look for the key phrase, chuck wagon, because there's a lot of mobile carts in places now. So, Virgo, your end of summer ritual works out to be both fun and educational. Take a camping trip out into the middle of nowhere, as far as cities are concerned. Get away from all the light pollution and look up at the stars at nighttime. Be sure to bring a red flashlight. But I'm going to interject my own 2 cents here. Bring in a flashlight with a red filter. Thank you. Be sure to bring a red flashlight and a planisphere so you can identify all the brightest stars, because there will be so many. You'll get lost in the constellations. So this week, also be sure to figure out if you'll be able to see the International Space Station. With enough luck, you might even be able to photograph it.
There's actually a couple of apps that you could download that will show you the night sky.
Yep. And then there's the official International Space Station tracking app, too.
That too. And I used to go out with my kids occasionally and scan the sky just to see what was going on when supposed special events were happening.
Fun fact, the nickname of the International Space Station is Izzy.
Yeah, and Izzy right now has a couple of extra passengers that shouldn't be there.
Well, let's not. Hey, well, Izzy is being a good hostess.
Yes, she is.
Yes,
there we
she
go.
is.
There we go.
Izzy is technically a ship, and all ships are female.
Yes.
She's a ship in the Great Black Sea.
Well, not
the Black
all
Ocean.
No, wait. If memory serves, in the scene from the live-action space battleship Yamato, the engineer fired up the wave motion engine, and as it came to life, he said, "Good boy." So...
Guns are male.
No, it was the engine. You can stop now.
Sorry, I love that show. Sorry, you got me started and I've had caffeine.
Isn't it your turn?
Yes.
I just went.
No.
Oh, wait, no. Yes, I just talked about the space station. It's Libra. That means it's you, Shujin.
Yeah, because I get Scorpio.
Yeah. Io and I swapped because I had to take a bio break.
Libra. School supplies are still all the rage, but how about something you haven't thought about in a long time? Take a swing over to Staples or Office Max, it's all the same company, and get yourself a proper calligraphy pen. You learned how to do this back in middle school, you'll be able to do it all over again. So this week, with all the YouTube instructional videos out there, you'll be looking like a pro in no time. And when you are, you can say proudly, "Hey, it's Tarasenko. Suck it."
Actually, I learned it in elementary school and then again in middle school. I know elementary school grades 2, 3, 4, and 5. 2 different schools, 2 different types.
Did you learn how to do it in French too?
May we?
Closest thing I know how to say in French is hiya, and I learned that from the Muppet Show. Thank you very much.
Muddy. Scorpio. Excuse me. Scorpio, 2 words for you. Ice cream! Ice cream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. Ice cream, you scream, we all scream. If you can find somewhere that serves actual house-made stuff, check them out. Get whatever their signature flavor is and go back for more. Make your own ice cream sandwiches with it and go nuts. So this week, oh, come on, stop looking at Cold Stone Creamery. Go to someplace like Antoinette's Desserts on Transit Road in Depew, New York, and get the Greek mint sundae. We dare you to try to finish it in one sitting. Ice cream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. Ice cream, you scream.
That is a big Sunday.
Oh, one of my ex-boyfriends, I was 18 or 19 when I met him. I must have just turned 19. And he dared me to have a dinner at the place that he was working at. And if I ate that and then ate the sundae that he was going to make for me, he was going to pay for my meal. So I came while he was working. He went a bit overboard on the sundae, and he looked at me when I was done with it and said, "Not only did you finish it, you finished it faster than anybody else I know of. How the hell did you do that?"
And then he became
I
your
was
ex.
I was hungry. Yeah, he became my ex about a year later when I found out some stuff about him. But just,
He wasn't really 19. He was actually 32.
no, he was 21. I was 19.
It was a joke. Sagittarius, nothing says you have to have kids to go out school supply shopping. God, that's a tongue twister. Nothing says you have to have kids to go out school supply shopping. So take a swing through Sears, if you can still find one that's open, and look for a classy button-up. Oh, right. Well, how about pencils and pens at Kmart office supplies? Oh, oops. Yeah, oh, sorry, forgot. Okay, look, we know Target is still in business, right? Okay, good. So this week, there's almost always a liquor store in the same plaza as Target. Buy an assortment of sampler bottles and hand them out to the beleaguered parents. No, they need some help too.
Just be thoughtful.
I currently have a Darth Vader red gel pen and a R2D2 blue gel pen in my hands that I bought at Target today. School supplies are still there.
and I will agree with Shujin. Be thoughtful. Do not hand out Jägermeister. Please do not hand out Jägermeister.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Somebody
kind.
Somebody also remind me that we should put the schools out school supply shopping Alice Cooper commercial in the notes.
That was a great commercial. Yeah.
Yeah, as much as I'm kind of
It's
annoyed.
the most wonderful time of the year.
That was not the
Ding
commercial.
dong,
That's not it.
school's on. The kids are all crying and parents are smiling because we're all shopping at Staples.
No.
Well, I mean, I did the whole Battleship Yamamoto thing, so I mean, she gets a pass.
Space Battleship Yamamoto.
Staples Canada had that song as a commercial. The Ding Dong Schools.
Okay.
So here in America, what they did is they did it during the summer, or they did it towards the end of the summer. And
yeah, same with Canada.
They did the schools out forever, the rock one. And then his daughter goes, "I thought you said school was out forever."
No, the Staples one was it's the most wonderful time of the year, and it's got a parent practically dancing with a cart full of school supply with 2 kids behind him doing the dreaded walk of "we're going to our deaths because we have to go back to school." I love that commercial because I was definitely the parent.
We'll make sure that those are in the notes for everybody to
if we can find them.
It's the internet.
You told me I'm not supposed to touch this keyboard. You gave me grief because it's too loud.
What is the tech support motto, Tech?
All is known.
We will find it. It won't be difficult. All is known. Capricorn, we're making this one real simple for you. Go clothes shopping at a second-hand place. It'll be super cheap, and who only knows what you'll find to try on. It could be literally anything from the current fashion trends to 1970s era polyester. So this week, if you do get a butterfly-collared mother-of-pearl buttoned plaid painted shirt from 1973, keep it away from open flame. It'll be passively exuding toxic fumes and will ignite at any provocation. Do not tempt the fates. I'm sure I have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about on that one.
Okay, so I found it.
Because, what did we just tell you? All is known.
Found it. And it started in 1996, and as far as I know, it was still going in 2020. It was the same commercial, and I loved it. Because it's the best time of the year to go buy supplies for your house. Because pens, pencils, paper, all that is, quote, marked down for schools. You might not have the option of not having to pay for taxes on it, but you could still... Anyway, Aquarius. Instead of going out, how about bringing the outside to you? You can get a plant starter set or just get an already started spice plant that you can get in your window. Yeah, it's later in the season than the plant would really like, but if you keep it indoors, you'll be able to give it all the sunlight and water it needs. So this week, if you have a cat, don't try this. They will knock it off the shelf, and then you'll need to sweep it up. Yeah.
Meow. Meow. Pisces, your loves of bucking the system, weekend TV binging, and DIY technology need to come together in one fun system. Build a home media server to play pirated shows on your TV and automate the whole collection system while you're at it. So this week, there is plenty of well-established programming and scripting languages. You don't need to revert to COBOL. Stop making it harder than it needs to be. Plex it. Excuse me. Sorry, I had something in my throat.
Again, I'm sure I have absolutely no idea what that one might be generated from, so...
Yeah, absolutely. Nope, no idea.
Those are your horrible scopes for this week. Remember, if you like what you got, I'm not trying hard enough. But if you'd like to get something nicer or naughtier for yourself or someone else's star sign, all you need to do is feed the vanity beast, which means just ask. Or you can literally bribe me. Coffee.com/Icarus the Lunar Guard. I'll have these posted online at the end of the week, as usual. Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, BlueSky. Because, and again, remember, if you want one of those cool D12s, just get in touch with the nice guys over there at Heart of the Game. I'm not getting a kickback, but would really like to be able to support them and give them a, little bit of money. And who knows, it might even be worthwhile. This is episode 505 on the docket, Your Honor. City's good, Cliques bad. Now, last week, we were talking about how there is a marked difference between how the people, the mental attitudes of people tend to be, and how that translates into the political spectrum, depending as to how close they are in communities, how densely packed they tend to be, versus how very spread out they tend to be, and some of the things that kind of go along with that. But, as much as we would like to go ahead and say that, physically close communities are good, a societal good, there is the problem of getting groups together artificially, and probably not such a good thing. So we're gonna kind of go through a little bit of that because, wow, there's a lot of them that like creep a lot of us out, and hopefully we don't have to worry about quite as many of them the same way that we used to. So this artificial grouping together thing, just gonna get the elephant out of the room right away and just say the Republican Party, the Christian nationalists. Sorry, I'm got this thing. I'm drinking to be able to get this out of my throat right now, so this kind of part of the thing. Religions have a bad track record over history of getting people together because of a shared animosity. And boy howdy, is that not built into the system already? I mean, it's a rhetorical question, but yeah, yes, it is. Yes, it very much is. So, yeah, I don't find religion on that angle to be a really good collective factor for religion's sake. When one of the driving factors is kill all the non-believers if they won't convert, that's probably not such a great item right there. There are some religions where it's really fun. It's really cool. Specifically the Satanic Temple, because, well, look at that. They're not looking to convert people or kill the non-converted. They're just doing their thing. Huh.
And of course, one of the most peaceful is the Jains, the ones that preach about not harming any living organisms, so much so that they look down when they walk to try to avoid stepping on bugs.
Yep.
That they literally, even in some of the poorest areas, will get something akin to cheesecloth. So for the ones that have like some education and understanding that there are organisms smaller than bugs, to filter out the microorganisms that might be in their drinking water. I mean, you don't get much more peaceful than that.
I would
They
agree.
literally only eat to survive. Yeah, that's about as, if there was one religion that would take, that was, if some kind of massive force came by and demanded that one religion take over the whole world, that is the only one I could think of that would actually be peaceful.
I mean, up until the point where you start having a craving for cheeseburger.
Yeah, I mean, but
Cheeseburger, 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 cheeseburger,
I
cheeseburger.
have people in my life who can't have certain things, and when I hang around them, I tend not to eat certain things. Not completely restrictive, but I do avoid some of those things just so that, um, just so that it doesn't have to make an appearance on the table or it doesn't bother them. I'm just trying to be nice. There's others I don't do that around just because they don't care. But some are a little more sensitive, and I try to be nice because they are my friends and I do actually do care. So it's not unusual for me to have a vegetarian diet. I would hate going true vegan,
No, I got you. I got you on that.
but I don't know of many other, I don't know of any other religion that is literally that non-violent, that respectful of life. If there is one out there, I'm not aware of it. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying I'm not aware of it. So it could just be my ignorance.
Yep. Yep. And
But when
that's
people
pretty good.
but I've noticed that people go out of their way to try to explain to me how peaceful Islam is, the Islam, the religion is, um, or how peaceful Catholicism is, or Christianity, or how much love they have in their scriptures, and how much the word love and all these positive words outweigh all the negative words. It's like you're avoiding the fact that you have all these negative things. You're saying, oh, the good outweighs the bad. It's like, why does there need to be the bad? If this and you guys who have all this stuff are trying to influence our politics. And you want me to be okay with that? No.
Don't work that way.
It's like, religion is like a penis. It's fun to have one, but please don't whip it out in public, and definitely don't force it down the throats of little kids.
Or anyone else for that matter.
Yeah, case in point. Consent is awesome. Don't force it down anybody's throat. Period. End of conversation. You okay over there? You look like you.
I
Well, I mean, I'm not wrong about consent being an awesome thing.
It's no, it's not. I'm trying to come to grips in the the concept in my head that's going on of how okay, if religion is analogous to a penis, what are you doing? Which religion is it then where you've circumcised the penis? I'm. What was his name? Jim Jones? Yeah, that's who was. Yeah.
You okay?
Sorry. I was talking about lopping the head off of some group or other. I think maybe just a little bit. David Koresh? Yeah. I'm
the
thinking,
cult leader Jim
anyway.
Jones. You mean James Jones?
James?
Sorry, yeah,
Jim,
he went by Jim.
No,
James
John,
Warren Jones.
No, John Jones is the Martian Manhunter. That's from DC Comics. That's a different guy
Sorry,
entirely.
I just thought you were talking about the People's Temple, who did the.
No, I was, yeah, but I'm just having a little bit of fun right about now.
Yeah, and fun fact, that cult leader, guess what? He was a Christian minister.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead, tell me how peaceful Christianity is, and it doesn't, or how it doesn't attract the crazy people.
See, then the problem then is that for every crazy whack job like Jim Jones and David Koresh and so many of these other wackadoos, we've got somebody like Fred Rogers. No, we don't, because we don't have nearly as many like Fred Rogers as we do with all these other weird culty.
No, we don't.
Guys.
Fred Rogers is an outlier.
Oh, that's the thing
Now,
that hurts the most.
Yeah, and I'll do you one up. I know of a pastor in a Lutheran church who could have been the next Mr. Rogers, and how much he actually cared for people, how peaceful he was, how much he wanted people to think for themselves, despite being a pastor for a religion. He wanted people to think. He wanted them to use their own brains to come to their own conclusions and so on. And he was always willing to sit down and engage in conversation and discord and everything else, um, as long as it was kept peaceful. No raised voices, no yelling and screaming, no throwing of hands, no slapping tables, nothing violent. If you can't keep the peace, then you don't have. His mentality was, if you can't be peaceful about it, you have no right having an argument.
That's fair.
And it's a mentality I kind of agree with, because we can have arguments. Arguments don't necessarily have to be angry, violent things. In fact, the very definition of argument doesn't include violence or anything like that. We just think of it that way because that's how we associate it. It's kind of like saying somebody's ignorant about a topic. It's not an insult, it's a descriptor. It means they don't have knowledge. It's a single word to display a sentence. However, we in our society take it as an insult.
A lot of folks do. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I'm one of those people that actually has made it a hobby to make.
There are a lot of people who use it as an insult. Hence why it's treated that way.
Yeah.
And hence argument is treated because when people say argument, they usually mean something mean, nasty, and violent instead of what it really is.
Or minimally what it's supposed to be.
Yes, I will. I'll go with that.
Yeah. Now,
So, okay, go ahead.
yeah. So I want to kind of backtrack just a little bit. You grew up in Canada. To the best of my recollection, I don't think that Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood played on Canadian TV.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day.
So
Won't
it did?
you be my neighbor? Oh yeah. Mr. Rogers, the Friendly Giant, the Tickle Trunk, which was
Mr. Dress Up.
Mr. Dressed Up with Casey and Finnegan, and Sesame Street, Canadian version as well as the American version. Gave my mother about 4 hours of she could do chores and things because she would plunk me down in front of the TV, and I would watch it. In fact, when one of her Baha'i friends was dying, she said in her bequeaths that Io was to get her TV because it was colored and I should be watching Sesame Street on it. My mother was a fanatical Baha'i, and one of their things that they have is the individual search for the truth or search for the light or however they want to say it, because of course Baha'i is Muslim light. You cannot convince me it isn't. Everything that Muslims do, pretty much Baha'is could do. The only main difference is Baha'is don't veil themselves.
Okay.
One of the earliest stories we had was about how the Shah of Iran and Tahereh, one of their first female, I guess, disciples, hands of the cause, whatever, basically scared a bunch of men, and one of them was so upset he slit his own throat and died. What did she do? She took off her veil.
Oof.
She
Alrighty.
did that in front of Mirza Hussein Ali, otherwise known as Baha'u'llah. And Mirza was supposedly a descendant of Muhammad. Whether he was or wasn't, I don't know. Their records are their records in their Arabic world. But I grew up with Baha'i principles being forced down my throat. I had limited Christian knowledge, if any. I knew about Christmas because that's when my grandma and grandpa gave me presents, and that's when I got my doll from Santa Claus because I was 5 years old and I got a dolly from Santa Claus. Santa Claus, that sort of stuff. Because my grandparents were trying to at least show me the same consideration that they would have shown any of their other grandchildren. I was also the oldest by 5 years. When it came to literature in school, it was grade 6, grade 7. We were doing Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe. And the teacher looked at me when he suddenly realized that I didn't understand anything about the crucifixion. I didn't understand anything about Easter other than I got a basket of chocolates. I didn't understand Easter. It wasn't one of the things that we celebrated. I'd come back from winter break and I would have maybe a couple presents from my mother's Roman Catholic family, but I wouldn't have that many presents because some of those kids would say, "Hey, look at how many things we got, ha ha ha, and you got nothing? You got clothes?" Oh well. But yes, we did have Mr. Rogers. We did have that stuff. And as things went on in Canadian TV, there was the Big Comfy Couch.
Yep.
Bear in the Big Blue Room, I think. It was one of the Sesame Street offshoots.
Yep. The Henson Company.
From the Henson Company. I love that.
Bear in the Big House.
Yeah, Bear in the Big House. I love that. I was watching it with my eldest. And Foursquare and other shows with my other kids. The only kids' TV that everybody else liked that I hated was SpongeBob. I could not stand SpongeBob, and I still can't. Just and I occasionally I see pictures of why I can't stand SpongeBob, like hidden penises. SpongeBob is for adults, not for kids.
Yeah. The reason why I brought up the question is that, like so many others that grew up with Mr. Rogers, I had no knowledge until very recently, by comparison, that he was an ordained minister. Never, never, never in my wildest dreams would I have ever thought that. And yet he was the outlier, as Tech mentioned, where if, like Tech said, if a superior alien race all of a sudden came down and said, we're now going to institute one religion throughout the entire world, we will enforce it, whose religion do you want it to be? Okay, the Jains. Okay, cool. Could we refer back to Fred Rogers and go with him? Because his thing wasn't to promote anything other than you're good, you're perfect the way you are, I like you, I respect you, and we can all just live together and learn from each other and be attentive and just be good people. I mean,
And there's nothing wrong with a dark-skinned child swimming in the same pool as a light-skinned child. That's what he taught. I remember that episode. I'm pretty sure I saw it when it first aired.
yeah, it was the I forgot what his name was, but the police officer.
Yes.
They got a kiddie pool there, and Fred.
They both put their feet in
They both put their feet in, and
at the same time.
at the
They
same
were
time,
both in.
and in a matter of speaking, Fred, in a manner of speaking, washed his feet, which symbolically went over so many people's heads, except those that were like attentive to it. Now, whether it was literally or figuratively, I've forgotten at this point because it's a little late. It's been a long week for me, smooth brain syndrome. But it was his religion that he taught for literal decades was be good people. I mean, you want to boil it down to like any singular principle? Be good people.
It's the difference between being a follower of Christ and somebody who follows the teachings of somebody else about Christ. Because, the stories are Jesus washed the poor, the sick, took care of them. But yet, here are these people spouting religious nonsense that incites people to violence. Do you remember during COVID that one preacher who basically spat on his constituency in order to kick COVID out?
I hate
We
to
deny
say
you
it.
COVID? Yeah, him.
I hate to say it, but I know who you're talking about. That guy who looks like he should be the wax statue of the crypt keeper at Madame Tussauds. Oh God, I forget what his name is, but I'm almost certain it was with a K name or whatever it was.
Kenneth Copeland, I think.
Could be.
Whatever his name was, he's one of those guys that he has his flock and his flock love him, and he spouts stuff that makes people like me, our blood boils, because all he's doing is inciting hate and violence and misinformation. And how many people died because they followed what he said? How many people took ivermectin because the former guy said do that, or inject your veins with bleach, or COVID's not that bad. Yeah, that's because you had the might of the White House health department basically pounding on your ass to make sure that you didn't die.
These groups, they drive me up a wall, like so many of the rest of you, because Sam Mulvey, and again, I know I refer to him every once in a while, Sam Mulvey from over there at Ask an Atheist, he described his view of American Christianity today as being simply inextricably linked with capitalism now. And not just any capitalism, but very specifically exploitative capitalism. They'll do whatever it takes in order to get that extra buck out of somebody. I mean, it's bad enough with the Roman Catholic Church, of which I grew up in. Hi, Italians, imagine that. It is what it is. That you're supposed to give money, and they will send you envelopes that you're supposed to bring to church with, your recommended tithe amount that you're supposed to circle on the outside of the envelope and put it into the basket so that, they can keep track of these things. That's not creepy at all. Thanks, guys. I always thought it was creepy when my dad did it, but I was a kid. What do I know? It's not my money.
I'm going by what I remember from mid 80s to mid 90s. So about 14 to 24, 25. Some text came down from the Universal House of Justice about proper tithing. It wasn't called that. I don't remember what it was called, but every single Baha'i person 15 years and older had to give every 19 days some money for the local assembly, the National Assembly, and the Universal House of Justice. The problem was this new text came out, the Hohola. I'm probably saying it wrong. And
Habalabui? No, just
yeah,
kidding.
exactly.
It's close enough.
There was a couple. It was translated, and the amount that was supposed to be tithed and given to the church, although it's not a church, it is Baha'i faith, but yeah, was 17% of your income.
I thought it was supposed to be 10%, but okay.
No, it was 17%.
Roman Catholic, it's 10.
Ah, okay.
And I looked at that and said, why do they need that much money? And there was no answer.
Gold-plated buildings aren't cheap.
There was no answer. And it started to open the eyes to me about the Baha'i faith was not something I wanted to be a part of. Even though my mother was chairman of the local spiritual assembly for most of my life, I think there was like 5 years where she wasn't. I'm talking about my life with her until I was 26. I pretty much went no contact at that point. But not only could I not go to the assembly if I needed help, but with my mother being the chairperson, people were really looking at me. I was the preacher's kid, except my mother wasn't a preacher. She was the chairperson, different. And the tithing just didn't make sense. And when I started to pull away, she flipped out. And she kept on flipping out. Baha'is aren't baptized. At the age of 15, we're allowed to sign the card that declares us a Baha'i. And Baha'i children at that point in time were basically assumed to be automatically Baha'i youth at 15. Like, you were automatically a full-fledged Baha'i. You could vote in all of the Baha'i things. You could do this, do that, do that, do that. Except when an adult believer declared, They got a huge party, an impromptu party, but they got a huge party. But a Baha'i child, we didn't get those parties. The assembly didn't care. The group there didn't care. And I actually complained. I said, hey, look, she was proclaimed a Baha'i right after me. She had all this wonderful stuff happen to her. I didn't even have anything. I didn't even get a hug. Never mind that I was forced to sign the damn card, but yeah, that's a complete different. But the tithing. One of the times that I tithed by saying to one of the other members of the assembly that I was going to watch their kid if they put in money into my little envelope. And they did, and they used a check instead of cash. And every single month, there would be a representation shown of how much you tithed, how much you gave. And the month that their check went into my envelope, they got the credit for it.
Yeah,
and I
check.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, it was just in the wrong envelope. It's like, no, I babysat their kid for 10 hours. It was over 2 days.
Okay. You had me worried there a second.
It was 5 hours one day, 5 hours another day.
No, it's
Yeah,
fine.
but you see, the thing is that the check, they didn't. The person who was doing all the collecting of cash and stuff like that, if for checks, their mentality was probably they just took the check out of the envelope, stuck it in a pile, and they only wrote down the names if there was cash in there, because the cash didn't have a name on it. So you didn't get credit because they just did what they assumed that the check that was going to be in there would have your name on it, and that's all they did is they just put it on a pile. It had who it was from on the check.
Yep.
That's who got the credit.
Yeah.
That's why the only thing you could do is like take the check to like a station and have it cashed, but it would have to be in your name in the first place.
No, it was the LSA of blah blah blah.
Yeah, of course.
But there was nothing on it for that I had babysat or anything. But
right. So my guidance to people who accept checks for like babysitting and stuff: have the parent make it out to cash or whatever. That way you can take it to a bank, have it cashed, and whatever you want to do with it, whether it's donate it to a church or put it in your piggy bank, go for it.
Yeah.
Well, it was specifically for a donation. It was specifically for a donation because, they were giving us grief, and one of the elders went and gave the kids, the youth, because by then there was about 5 or 6 of us. But for most of my life, I was the only Baha'i child in the community.
No. Just remember,
or one of 2 or 3, and you had to go into a bigger community to get other kids.
Just remember, it doesn't matter if somebody plays fair or not. If you don't get the credit, they will degenerate you. They'll make fun of you. They'll haul you out in front of the tribe and go, this person has not contributed to the tribe, therefore this person must be exiled or shunned or whatever. So the fact that they did it to a kid, or do things similar like that to kids where they make them feel bad for whatever, this is nothing unusual. This is nothing outside of the norm. The sad part is that, like you demonstrated through your retelling of your history, this still continues to this day and age, and it is a barbaric system that traumatizes children, which is why I'm a big Seth Andrews of the Thinking Atheist says that forcing children to believe in religions is child abuse, and I 100% agree with the guy.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the opportunity to think for themselves or make their own decisions. They are literally being forced to do it.
Yeah. Backtracking just a little bit, Stephanie had mentioned, and again, thank you. I was a little worried that something had happened, that the chat wasn't working correctly. Stephanie said, "Am I being mean by wishing the White House medics had not been so thorough?" Yes. And I don't believe that it is unwarranted Is it mean? Yes. So what?
It wasn't so much that they were so thorough as that they were using experimental treatments that weren't available to the general public unless you had tons of money.
Yeah, but again, the question is, so what? I mean, some people have shown that they richly deserve to be um, mocked, or alternatively, um, sworn at in whatever form that takes. And if that happens to be like that, well,
Excuse me.
and I don't. There's an old song. I would not be convicted by a jury of my peers. You would not be convicted by a jury of your peers over here. Mostly because I don't believe that we would extradite you from the UK, so you're all good there. So, I mean, we spent days, weeks, and months kicking all you guys out. We're gonna intentionally call some of you back over here. No, it's not gonna work that way. These are the jokes, people. This is as good as it's gonna get. One of our past hosts, by the way, Witchy Bunny, was part of the Jehovah's Witnesses, the J-Dubs. J-Dubs. Wonderful. Wonderful group. And I say that with the scare quotes of wonderful group. And on many an occasion, we have spoken about how they would do something that's referred to as disfellowship. It is basically their way of shunning someone out of their community. And it could be for a host of it could be for any of a host of possible reasons. Now, I want to also remind you that Witchy Bunny's family is of let's generously make it as broad as possible. They are graced with an otherwise super average content of melanin in their dermal layers. So the fact that folks of said biology would align themselves with the J-Dub, or any Christian sect for that matter, astounds me to no end. But the amount of pain and suffering disfellowship brings is simply an unconscionable thing, because it also includes parents simply turning their back on their children, and we cannot begin to tell you the level of pain and suffering it causes for those in their teen years who are finally discovering and properly understanding their sexuality and having it exposed to their family before they are ready to explain it to them. And then suddenly they're literally thrown out of the house to fend for themselves in an area that has completely turned its back on them because the entire community is part of the group. And if you're disfellowed from one, you're disfellowed from all.
Oh, you're going to love this. My ex-husband that I had 3 kids for was not disfellowshipped, but his sister was. She wrote a nasty letter. Apparently, the elder did things to her when she was young of a nature that should have gotten that man's removed. Hands, other pieces of anatomy, And the way that it was treated, it was all her fault. So when she became an adult, she wrote a letter, told them off, and she got disfellowshipped. His older 2 brothers basically stopped going to the Kingdom Hall, and ex-J-Dubs. He supposedly was an ex-J-Dub too, and he was also saying that he was an atheist, my ex-husband. The youngest child of that family, a boy, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that he also just kind of vaporized. I went to 2 funerals, my mother-in-law's and my father-in-law's, or this was before they became my ex-husband, so they were mother-in-law and father-in-law at that time. Hers was relatively low-key. Her ex-husband, which is my ex-father-in-law or father, whatever, he was there at the funeral, and he basically sat in the back to try and not cause any drama because he had remarried. They were divorced. He had remarried, blah, 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 blah. When he died, whoever it was that stood at that pulpit and read his eulogy, read his obituary, spent 25 minutes doing Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior, Jesus, 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 hail Jesus, Jesus, and then reread his obit. That was it. And to top it off, he couldn't even say the name right. So when they showed up at my door a couple of years later, I tore into them. I tore into them that I have no respect for a community that can't even get one of their long-standing members' names right at their funeral.
I'd say that was pretty well deserved, and I back you 100% on that one.
Yeah, he was actually looking at becoming disfellowshipped because he was on the heart transplant list, and he actually aged out of it. He was too old to receive a heart transplant, according to British Columbia rules. Somewhere about the age of 65 to 70, they say, no, you're not going to get a heart transplant. We'll do other stuff, but we're not going to give you a heart transplant. We'll save it for somebody younger.
I mean, I get it. From a statistics point of view, I get it. It doesn't make it any less annoying, but I get it. I mean, you could... There's always, artificial hearts. And I say that half tongue-in-cheek. Because, yes, there are, but they're kind of not really. In any case.
I'm actually somebody that hopes I never have to have a blood transplant or blood transfusion, because I don't want to risk a disease that's in that blood that isn't being screened for. That happened to kids in the 80s that ended up with AIDS because they had hemophilia. Hepatitis C also made it through the screenings, and a couple other things. So I'm praying I never have to have a blood transfusion, and there was at least twice where I should have.
Yeah,
But that's not because blood is holy, blood is sacred, which is one of the things that Jehovah's Witnesses have. It's because I'm looking at what is being put into me. If it's to save my life, okay, fine. But if it's precautionary, I'd rather you didn't do that.
No, I get that. And I think it's fair to, since you opened up the door on that one, to kind of briefly touch on that. Tech, as a parent also, I'm not discounting that for you, Io. You just give me a sec. If your kid needed blood and you are of a faith that said you are not allowed to ingest blood, and that was translated into blood infusion. I'm pretty sure I know
Oh,
what
that
you're.
could kiss my pimply white ass. That would be my response.
I
Faith or no faith. My son and I are matches. But I know people go, well, obviously. It's like, well, believe it or not, um, my on in my family, my sister and I have the same exact blood type as our mother, but we don't have the same exact type as our father. But hey, it is what it is. But my son and I have the same blood type, and I wouldn't care what religion I was currently engaged with. If he needed my blood, he would get my blood. If he needed my heart, he would get my heart. End of story. There is the way I see it. Children are the future, and they are potential. We are not supposed to bury them. They are supposed to bury us.
Oh, when it comes to my kids, if it was a blood transfusion, it would have been, go ahead.
Yeah.
They need bone marrow from me? Okay, sure, go ahead. But me getting a blood transfusion? No, I'd rather you do everything else first.
yeah.
Just because I don't want it. I grew up during the AIDS epidemic. I grew up when people were getting hepatitis C because blood wasn't being properly screened. It's nothing to do with religion. It has to do with I saw this happen. I don't want it to happen to me.
Let me qualify that statement of yours real quick. Let me ask you this, okay? I understand where your fear and apprehension come from, and I feel that there's whether my feelings matter to you or not is immaterial, but I do think they're justified. Now, less for the sake of argument, you have a familial person in your life who has matching blood types. You know that they're clean, and while the surgery that you're going to undergo has a 90% success rate with no preemptive blood transfusion, this familial member is willing to donate a liter or a quart or whatever is necessary without dying or facing any possible negative problems. And it ups your success rate from 90% to 98%, almost a virtual guarantee of success. Would you be willing to accept that scenario? Because it's a different scenario than getting a um, unidentified random donor.
No, because my children shouldn't have to give to me.
I never said children.
And any of the adults in the family, my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, and whatnot, for different reasons, I'm no contact with, and I know they wouldn't donate. I know they wouldn't.
Oh.
And I'm pretty sure that that was the reason why my mother broke my no contact with her.
Okay, but
She was looking for a kidney.
But where he's going though is, hypothetically speaking, leaving the reality of the familial disconnect out of the equation. If there was someone in your family who you knew, and I'm going to use scare quotes on knew, quote unquote, for a fact, was clean, good donor, in healthy way, would be willing to give a unit. I don't know how many units you're allowed to give. Something tells me that a quart might be. I mean, for some of us, a quart could be the difference between fathering a son or not. I don't know what the numbers would be, but if it were from a known personality, a known source, to boil it down to its bare essentials, would that change the way that you would think about it?
No, because there's genetic diseases within the family that would cause issues.
Okay.
There's a bleeding disorder, and it would have to be stranger's blood that does not have that bleeding disorder.
Okay. Again, missing where the point is.
No, I would not take it from somebody that said, "Here, take my blood." I've had this conversation with other people before. I had this conversation with my kids. when I was actually very close to kidney failure. No, I will not take your kidneys, kids. You might have the same genetic disease I've got. No, you will not. I will not. No, 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 no.
Okay,
Oh,
then
okay.
let me
Okay.
There is.
I hope.
no
I hope.
hold
there's-
on. The reason why I wanted to ask it in the way that I think was intended is take away the reality of all of the family and go with just this scenario. Now, the reason why I was asking and kind of going back to I don't think that you've got it is because the concern that you had before was the screenings and the lack of being able to notice something back in the day of growing up. And I totally get that. As an aside, by the way, Stephanie had pointed out that blood in the 70s was not screened. Things have tightened up since then. All well and good, Stephanie, up until the point where there is something that there can't be tested for because it's an unknown yet, which is part of the concern. The piece that we were kind of getting at was if it was someone who didn't have a genetic issue, no, sorry, scratch that. Aside. That we were dealing with. You have your concerns over the quality of the storehouse supply. Valid. Totally get you. Understand that. We're saying then, if you're dealing with a new source, healthy in all respects, in all manner, that didn't have a predisposition towards whatever else, was just healthy personality. Would that change the way that you would think about receiving at that point? And I don't want you to be upset with the way that I'm trying to, because it feels like it's a little bit of mansplaining, but it's a matter of the pieces that you had your concerns over. Those are those own pieces from that supply. We're giving you the variable of a completely new, completely healthy lockbox of its own. So
it would have to be blood I stored.
Okay. Valid answer.
There's technology, there's blood expanders, there's artificial blood. Everything first before you give me blood. Or for that matter, plasma. And I was told by my pulmonologist 2 days ago that if I have surgery coming up, they need to know about this one genetic disease I have because it's a bleeding disease. It's not hemophilia, but it is hemophilia.
Okay.
It's not the royal hemophilia. It's a different one. And if I have surgery and something goes wrong, they might have to give me plasma to help with coagulation and blood. And I'm like, I'd rather not. I would rather not.
Okay.
It has, finding out that I had the genetic disease explains a whole lot about some of the issues that I've had growing up.
No, and that's fine. And I want to make sure that the folks that are paying attention to this also understand. Tech and I were not looking to squirm in here and go, well, obviously you don't know what you're talking about. You're not answering the question correctly because you're not giving us the answer that we're expecting or the answer that we're wanting. No. It's a matter of that's her choice. And it's made from a place of what she's gone through, what she's experienced, how she feels about that, her own self-interests and bodily autonomy, and not because of a religious dictate. And ultimately, that's the most important piece of it all to us. And I may be taking a little bit of the thunder from Tech on this one, and maybe kind of going sideways on it, but somehow or other, Tech, I don't think that you would argue the point with me on this one.
No, I think she actually has a full right. So people ask me, you're a guy. What does your opinion matter about women? And it's like, well, first off, I vote, and who I vote for can affect how women as well as men live their lives, which is why I tend to vote in favor of those candidates who allow people to live their lives the way they want, just like I want to live my life the way I want. However, it has to be, in my opinion, in a way that does the least amount of harm. So when I say that, while I'll vote for somebody who wants gun control, I'm not asking to take away all guns. I am asking for background screenings, better ones, because we have the technology to do better ones. We have the technology to have a nationalized database. I'm just picking on guns at the moment because, I remember I watched the DNC convention, but at the same time, I think hunters should be allowed to hunt. For example, my son hunts. He hunts deer. During season, he has a license. He was actually trained by his local sheriff's office on how to properly handle, clean, safety, store, travel, everything with a rifle. Okay, he has a hunting rifle. He doesn't have a pistol or revolver. He doesn't have a rifle with a whole bunch of rails on it or anything like that. And that hunting supplements his food income. Okay. I don't want that rifle taken away from him. Now, if he goes and does something really bad with the guns, I don't want him having guns anymore because that's a bad thing. Okay? Even though he's my son. That's how I think in terms of gun control. So when I look for candidates, I look for candidates that match that. Likewise, for women who I think they should have body autonomy. Why? Because I have body autonomy. Why can't they have what I have? Just because their insides are a little bit different than mine doesn't mean that they should have their rights taken away from them. Abortion? That should be between the two people having the kid.
And the doctor.
Well, yes, definitely the doctor. But not the insurance companies, not the politicians, not the police, not SWAT, not ICE, none of them. That should be between the couple and the doctor. Now, some people say, "Oh no, only the woman, the husband doesn't get a say in the matter." I would argue that the person who helped do the conception gets a say because it takes two to tango. Unless it was a IVF, in which case it was just basically a test tube in the woman in question, then the woman should have her own say in the matter all by herself, and her doctor should advise. But if there's a husband and wife team going on here, honestly, I think the two should actually have like a mutual statement, or at least hash it out, before acting upon it. But again, that happens in their home, not my home. I don't go over and knock on the door and tell them, you two need to sit this shit down. What I don't think is there should be a law saying that men shouldn't have a say in the matter with their partner. And some women are actually advocating for no, men should have zero say. It's like, politicians should not have a say. So when Iowa says no, no means no. That's how I was raised. Now, my concern is not that I wasn't trying to trap Iowa. I was not trying to trap you into saying something and going, aha, like Shujin was pointing out. My concern is that I did not relay the hypothetical properly for you to understand that I was doing a purely thought experiment, purely hypothetical, not true to reality whatsoever. Because as we all know, sometimes weird shit happens in our lives and things that we would never imagine occur. So my I wasn't trying to trap you in anything. I was just wondering if that fear could be, if there was a situation where the fear could be alleviated. Now, in a way, you did answer that question of mine because you pointed out that you could store blood preemptively to an operation, that there are synthetic bloods, and so on and so forth. So, in a way, you did answer it just fine. But the emotions that I brought out in you was not my goal. I was not trying to rile you up or upset you. And I feel like I did do that, and I apologize.
No, it's more a matter of I needed a transfusion when I was 18 and they refused to give it to me and they wouldn't justify why they wouldn't give it to me other than yeah, you're fine, you're just a couple points above where we would give a transfusion, but I was still bleeding. This was a horrible miscarriage slash stillbirth. Depending on what state you're in, it's a miscarriage or a stillbirth because it was right at 19 weeks, 6 days, you know,
I'm
and
sorry
I
for
almost
that.
died from that. And then,
Which can be traumatizing. And
yeah, and
with, I would
it
imagine it
took
would.
me over. It took me over a year to get my iron and my blood levels back up high enough that I was healthy again. It took a year. They should have given it to me then. And that was way before I had even an inkling that I had a genetic disease. Um,
I do
when I
apologize
had
for bringing up these really horrible memories through my hypothetical, by the way.
it's okay. It's okay. I didn't have the knowledge that I had the genetic disease then. They could have given me a blood transfusion and I would have probably been okay with it. I would have been horrified after the fact because it was also during the time of the AIDS epidemic and improper blood screenings. And this was actually at a US hospital too, which is probably the other reason.
That whole chapter in the U.S. Let's just leave it as it was a dark time in healthcare in the United States, and we can
In
save that for another
Canada.
time. I
And,
I'm less
and
privy to that one, but
and when I had my last child, 15 days later, I went to the hospital because I was hemorrhaging and it wasn't normal from any of my other births. I was passing fist-sized clots. I'm sorry if it's descriptive, but um
Meatballs!
yeah, nice big ones. And I went there a few days after the birth. They sent me home. I went there a week later. They sent me home. I went there again. They said, okay, come back on Wednesday when we have an OB scheduled to come in. So I came back on Wednesday. The OB had me do an ultrasound and they found enough products of conception. I think my daughter was a surviving twin. They pulled a bucketful out of me but the discussion about my body and what they were going to do with me was they wanted to give me they wanted to tie my tubes. They wanted to give me multiple blood transfusions and they wanted to um, do an ablation therapy or something in order to deal with all this, but they weren't sure that they were going to be able to. And I found out afterwards that there was a bucket full of products of conception that were left over, which to me says that there was probably a second child because there was an intact sac and placenta and everything with my child when I had her at the hospital. And there was no inkling that there was a second child. And the way that the doctor was treating me was he was pressuring me to get sterilized. And I had to use my ex-husband's name as, no, I don't want to be sterilized. We haven't discussed if this is our last child. And he was pressuring me and pressuring me. Women all over North America are begging doctors for sterilization in their 20s. Here I was in my early 30s. I was 34. And this doctor wanted to sterilize me. And when I had pelvic reconstructive surgery 6 years later, one of the things I asked was I sterilized? Because he could have done it without my consent. I wasn't, thankfully.
You know, that is something that we don't really think about very often. How the perversion of sexuality is utilized in various religious sects. How it is used as a bludgeon on half of not half of, but on the entire collective. For women, for some groups, you're a breeder. I mean, the quiverful movement as one of them. You breed until you can't anymore, and then, well, we'll find something for you to do. And versus, you've got young ladies to be married off. Sure, we'll marry them off as soon as they can handle a pen to sign their name. With your consent, of course.
Oh, we don't even have to get their consent. We could just have the parents' consent, specifically the father.
And a willing judge, which, depending on the community, can just be a rubber stamp ready to be used. And again, going back to the Christians and the Catholics, you're not supposed to be masturbating. As a young man, I can't speak for young women because I've never been one myself. A young man in their starting formative years of development, you're not allowed to masturbate? I got bad news for you there, Chief. You don't have nearly enough time in the confessional for me. And I'm going to tell you right now, I ain't going to admit to it. No way, no how. That's between me and me. And if you don't like it, you can go pound sand.
The Baha'is had no masturbation as well. This was back in the 80s.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
The Baha'is said that homosexuality was a mental illness at the time. They have now changed their doctrine, and it's okay to be homosexual and a Baha'i.
Is it?
I haven't looked further in on that, but when I saw that, I saw red, and I basically shut my windows down and I walked away from the computer. I went for a walk. The Baha'i faith actually has as part of their doctrine that the words from their prophet Mirza Hussein Ali is the word of God, but the word of God can change as it's scientifically proven that this is actually more accurate. They're the people that brought up they're the ones that brought up the evolution as directed. Their argument was that the human soul was always a human soul. It just didn't happen to be in a human body. And it took a while for it to evolve. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. I know you do.
I've never heard this particular argument before, and I find it about as ludicrous as... Well, no, I don't believe that I've ever heard anything nearly as stupid as that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a new one by me. I was going to say, is this also on the same level as the Roman Catholics, where it's okay for you to be homosexual, so long as you don't actively do any relationship stuff? Is that the level?
I don't know. Like I said, I saw red that they changed their doctrine.
It's perfectly fine.
If you leave the Baha'i faith, you are declared mentally ill, because nobody would want to leave the true faith. Sorry. Not sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. By the way, that whole thing for you guys over there on the Catholic lines about the whole it's okay to be gay. You just don't do anything relationship wise to go along with it. Yeah, you guys can all just go suck a dick.
Mm-hmm.
No, the guys that are in charge of every. Actually, it's entirely possible that some of them are anyway. There are some of those parties that we don't get invited to for some reason. I don't know.
I'm not an atheist, but I have atheistic leanings.
It's okay. We like you.
You know, there's something out there because it's out to get me.
See, that's the part.
That's Murphy.
No. When you said when I went, I have atheistic leanings, and you, Shujin, went, okay, we like you. The religions do the same thing.
No.
Oh, you believe in our God? Okay, we like you.
No. You misunderstood. The intent behind my saying, yeah, we like you, was more along the lines of, okay, you've got leanings, but you're not. We like you anyway.
I'm not
Okay.
because Neil deGrasse Tyson said something that actually made perfect sense to me when it came to religion, spirituality, etc. That we are the universe trying to figure out ourselves.
Yeah.
That's how far I can become an atheist. The universe talks to us in ways that we can't always understand, or it makes sense, or you get this inspiration of genius, or you know, and it's the universe talking back to us. You lose your keys. You know, what I do is I go, here keys, and eventually they show up again. As I'm looking for them, I talk to what I'm looking for.
And inevitably, they're in the last place you look. So you should go look there first.
I do.
Then they wouldn't be lost. Anyway.
The way that he was talking about it, you could probably find the quotes better than I could. But the universe is trying to discover itself, and we're just part of that. So it's not God, but it's not God. It's us trying to figure things out in the universe, because it gets complicated when you try to.
Yeah, it does. Until very recently, I really didn't have a full appreciation for what that quote actually means. And it's been a couple of years since I've actually started to have an inkling in my head as to what it really means. And off and on considering it, I still know that I don't have the proper understanding of it. But I try to think it through every once in a while, which is really good. Stephanie's also pointed out something that I was specifically thinking of. Apparently, there are interesting parties in the Vatican. Yeah.
Apparently, there are interesting parties in the catacombs between the nunneries and the monasteries.
They would never do that. That would be wrong. I'm sure.
There's a reason why there's catacombs between the nunneries and the monasteries.
It's late enough right now. I'm really not gonna go down that angle. Really not gonna go down that angle. Being that it's getting to be late for me, and I've got this smooth brain syndrome going on right about now. I don't have very much of anything to finish off with.
Excuse me.
Don't do that. For me, I'll just kind of end with thank you for being part of a larger group instead of an artificially smaller group. Sometimes the best part about it is what the guiding principle is for whichever group it is. And if that guiding principle is don't be a dick, it's kind of hard to be a dick in a group like that and still stay with it. I will gladly accept somebody that adheres to don't be a dick and somebody that won't. So thanks for being part of that group, because I think that I fall into that group too.
Are we allowed to do our little rants?
Yep. I would ask you to keep it under 1 week so that I can get out of here and get to sleep.
1 week? Actually, there was a YouTube video I saw earlier today that made perfect sense about religion. Aliens came down to Earth to discover humans, and they found out about religion, and they realized that religion is a virus.
That's entirely possible.
I'll see if I can find it for the show notes later. It's on my other computer.
Fair. And Doc, I see you over there. Good morning. I hope you're holding up well. Tech, what do you wanna finish off with?
Oh, by the way, there is an essay by Richard Dawkins called "The Viruses of the Mind."
Yeah, Dawkins is a little on the we're not quite sure how to feel about him anymore kind of thing. Just for full clarification, he's been a bit of a dick over the last couple of years. So just as a heads up for everybody.
Kind of had a stroke too.
What he does on his weekends is his business, man. I'm not getting in the middle of whatever it is.
Not that kind of stroke. Get your mind out of the gutter.
As opposed to what?
Good point. Oh, look, this just in. Israel just launched a strike on Lebanon.
Again?
Yeah.
Oh no, wait, that was Iran last time.
Yeah. No, yeah. Israel's getting a little uppity there. Not the people of Israel, mind you. Okay? The government of Israel. Because I believe there is an importance in making a distinction. Okay? For example, when there was protests against the Israeli government, and there was some video of some lady crying because she saw Jews there, all in their garb, everything. And she was crying. It's like, you can't do that because you can't be pro-Palestine because you're Jews, and they hate he's like, and they pointed out there is like, no, we can the actions being taken are not being taken by the people of Israel, but by the government of Israel. Not the religion of Israel, but the government of Israel is attacking the Gaza Strip, is blowing up all those people, innocents and otherwise. And you can still be your religion and not support your government. And I was like, dude, those guys are hardcore religion, and they're still saying their government's wrong. And they come from a country that is a theocracy. So, I mean, yeah, those are some people who understand the difference between separation of church and state.
I've got another YouTube video I need to link again on my other computer. It was about Palestine refugees not being accepted in anywhere else in the Arabic world. My theory has always been that they are essentially the chosen victims so that the rest of the Arab world can go, we're going to destroy you because you killed the Palestinians.
Oh, you mean like America's border wars?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't really have a rant tonight. So really, that really did just pop up on my phone that dozens of Israeli jets strike targets in Lebanon. I'm like, I don't have a rant. This is, however, this is big. So, yeah, let's see how this one plays out. It's probably going to be bad. Very, very bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, war. What it isn't good for absolutely nothing.
I think you need to go back and reread those lyrics, because they ain't the lyrics.
No.
War, huh? Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again.
I'm tired, dude. I got close.
Perfectly reasonable. You forgive me, part of the reason why I know it is because, well, I'm going to be starting my 16th season of DJing. Of course, it's one of those songs I'm going to know the lyrics to because I've got one of those kinds of brains that, yes, it's smooth on the outside, but really wrinkled on the inside. That's not always a good thing.
Oh, I just started my 10th year.
It's a good
or
start.
9th year, something like that. I started DJing in 2015, so I guess 9th year start of it? I
My
started
brain's
DJing in
trapped inside a
August.
panini press.
Something like that.
There you go. It's a good start right there. So, folks, thanks for being with us. We hope that you found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives and you got something to think about for the week ahead. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. So, Doc, glad you're able to make it. Again, briefly, temporarily. I hope things are progressing well enough. He's been keeping us kind of appraised as to parts of what's been going on. Not everything has been great, to not put too fine a point on it. So I hope that you're doing well. I can hope. And Stephanie, of course, thank you kindly. You take care of yourself. Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting couple of days for me, so I'm not quite sure how things are gonna play out just yet. Io, glad you're able to make it. Thank you, of course, again, and you have yourself a good rest tonight, huh?
I need to. I walked too much today and my ankle really hurts. And yes, I figured out where the fracture is. It's on the fibula, the smaller leg bone, right at the bottom.
Yeah, right
So,
where you don't need it, right?
right where I could have used a walking cast or something.
Still, good luck, eh?
Mm-hmm. Don't you fall down at work. Don't you do.
No, that's not going to be an issue. Tech, glad you're able to make it. You take care of yourself too, man. You have a good week.
Yeah, you too, man.
Folks, as always, if you'd like to be in touch with us, probably one of the best ways is to take a swing over to the Discord server. You can also find us over there on Twitter. I don't care what they want to call it. Yes, you want to say that I'm dead naming it. I don't care. It will be Twitter. It is continuing to be Twitter. It will be Twitter. Because the alternative is twat, and I don't want to say that word in public. BlueSky, Facebook. Take a swing over to the website, holycrapthevlogcast.com. It's not been properly updated in a long time. I know. I'm sorry. Terribly sorry about that. There's reasons, and it's there. I don't know exactly what I can tell you right now. It is what it is. And as far as the phone is concerned, I've allowed that to expire. I will have the graphic properly updated for next week. It is what it is. Item last that I want to remind everybody is that not so much that it's the end of summer, but it's becoming the beginning of fall very shortly. And here in the United States, and I'm pretty sure Canada, the school seasons are starting up. Some areas have already started. I know full well that mutual friend over in Alaska, the school season has officially started already. So wherever it is that you find yourself traveling, if you see a school zone, religiously, if you'll pardon the expression, obey the speed limits, pick up your visual scanning, do not pass a school bus. And remember, school buses aren't always just that safety yellow. Sometimes they are just mass transit buses. Don't screw with them. Look, you wanna hurt your own damn self, that's fine. Don't jeopardize a young life. Just don't. So, we'll be back with you again come next week. So, thank you for joining us. As always, I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And of course, my lady, it's coming up on another anniversary of us having met. And a past happy 55th birthday to you, hon. I love you. Well, Matane Fujin, I love you. I miss you. You dream of me. And until the next time we're together, everyone, as always, good night.